Tonight, burials suspended at the Meadowrest Memorial Gardens in St. Catherine after workers walked off their jobs earlier today. 20 cases of COVID-19 and 1 death recorded in the last 24 hours, taking the total of confirmed cases to 49,110 and the death toll from the virus to 989. Still tonight, some doctors at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James say they are facing several challenges as they carry out their duties at the hospital.
At Cornwall Regional Hospital, we have several challenges. One is bed space. We simply don't have enough beds to place persons. To the point now where performing resuscitation on the ground, on the floor, in the trauma unit is almost like the new thing to do. It is so. Another sore point for us at Cornwall Regional Hospital is the fact that many times our imaging modalities break down or are non-functional.
And 2 persons are now dead and 2 others admitted to hospital following yesterday's shooting in Longwood Hanover.
At about 11 a.m., police were alerted to a shooting incident in Longwood Hanover. On arrival, the body of a bar operator was found inside the bar. We received information that other persons were injured and were being transported to Noel Holmes Hospital. A 16-year-old was confirmed dead by the doctor on duty.
Good evening. Burials were suspended at the Meadowrest Memorial Gardens in St. Catherine after workers walked off their jobs earlier today. Now, this is reportedly over a long-standing wage dispute. Burials were suspended for the day, and it is unclear if burials will resume tomorrow. We will bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. In other news tonight, Minister of Education, Youth and Information Fable Williams says that the Grade 6 Ability Test component of the Primary Exit Profile PEP was successfully administered on May 26 in collaboration with school leaders. This report was made at yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing where she stated that the scripts are now being checked and graded.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, in collaboration with our school leaders, successfully managed the preparation and administration of the Primary Exit Profile PEP 6 Ability Test on Wednesday, May 26, 2021. Preliminary reports informed that approximately 33,000 students were present for the exam. 1 student was reported to be infected with the coronavirus, and preparations were made for the student to sit the exam safely. Another student was reported to be in the hospital, and as per usual, staff was deployed to the hospital to support the student in completing the assignment. So all the scripts are now being checked and graded. The release date and the weighting of the scores are to be determined. As soon as we have that information, we will make it available.
Minister Williams says that preparations are in place for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, that will commence on June 28.
Plans are in place to support the administration of the exams, which will now commence on June 28, 2021, instead of a prior date of June 14th. The Overseas Examination Council, OEC, is the agency with the remit to ensure the smooth preparation for and the administration of the CXC exams, as well as the return of exam scripts for marking. They have reported that the centers have been finalized, presiding examiners have been engaged, trained, and deployment schedules shared with them ahead of the start of the exam. The schools, through the exam coordinators, continue to liaise with the OEC to ensure on-the-ground readiness, the pickup and return of exam scripts in a timely manner. The exams will be in the original format, paper 1, paper 2, and 100% moderation of SBAs. All SBA school-based assessments are to be submitted by June 30th, 2021. By now, those who have decided to defer the sitting of the exam would have taken that decision. The deadline was May 31, 2021. Previously, the exam, the topics, the broad topic areas, those would have been released on May 28th for the students, and plans are in place to have the exam results released by either late September or the first week in October 2021. And CXC has also indicated that consideration will be given in the grading process to account for the psychosocial effect of the pandemic on the students.
Still making the news tonight, 20 Jamaicans tested positive for the coronavirus COVID-19, while one additional patient succumbed to the virus within the last 24 hours. Now, this takes the country's total of confirmed cases since the outbreak last year to 49,110, and the death toll from the virus now to 989. According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the latest death is of a 50-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew. Another death was also confirmed today as coincidental. The new cases of the virus consist of 13 females and 7 males ranging in age from 11 years to 78. The new cases were recorded in St. James with 7 cases. Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Catherine recorded 4 cases each. Westmoreland recorded 2 cases, while Hanover, St. Anne and St. Mary recorded 1 case each. The ministry says 185 patients recovered from the virus, increasing virus recoveries now to 27,013. There are currently 20,733 active cases of the virus. In news from St. James, some doctors at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay say there are several challenges that they are being faced with as they carry out their duties at the hospital. Now, one doctor who requested anonymity says there are limited bed spaces at the hospital and explained how this affects their patients.
At Cornwall Regional Hospital, we have several challenges. One is bed space. We simply don't have enough beds to place persons. To the point now where performing resuscitation on the ground, on the floor, in the trauma unit is almost like the new thing to do. It is so packed that you have a patient who comes in who requires resuscitation and you literally have nowhere to put them. You have to put them on the ground, on a backboard, and perform your chest compressions there in a type A hospital. You have patients who are admitted for 5 days, 7 days, more, who've never seen or touched a bed. They are sitting on a chair night and day because there is no bed available to put them on. Let's bear in mind that these are not well people. These are sick people sitting on a chair, sleeping, eating, breathing on that chair day and night because there's no bed. Simple things such as enough blood pressure machines, right? Enough containers for us to perform urine tests, urine analysis, urine cultures, coagulation tubes, bed rolls. I heard the nurses complaining last week that there was one working RBG machine or glucometer in the A&E department. This is the A&E, the Accident and Emergency Department of a Type A institution, a Type A hospital with one working glucometer machine. That is not acceptable.
Another doctor explained that because of non-functioning equipment, many tests have to be done numerous times that in the end results in wasted hospital resources.
Now here's a prime example of how the resources are wasted. You have a group of patients, you are preparing them for surgery. In order to prepare them for surgery, you're going to have to utilize resources. They're going to need blood tests, they're going to need imaging studies, so x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, etc. They're going to need heart tests, which could be an electrocardiogram, an echocardiogram, etc. That's utilizing the hospital resources. When you have these patients prepared for surgery, but the day that you're supposed to perform the surgery, the AC is not working and you have to cancel and reschedule them, depending on how many times you have to do this, the patient's results or the patient's tests become outdated. Then you have to repeat them. They cancel them again, you then have to repeat them. And so you have one person who has 4 x-rays, 5 lab tests, 2 CT scans, when they could have had one set of each if we were able to perform their surgeries in a timely manner. So now let's say you have 50, even 50 of those persons, right? Who are going around in this cycle. That's 5 times 50, that's 250 different things when you could have only had 50 done, which is going to drain the resources.
Yet another doctor outlined an additional sore point that has been affecting them at the hospital.
Another sore point for us at Corner Regional Hospital is the fact that many times our imaging modalities break down or are non-functional. Our CT scanner is a prime example. So when the CT scanner is not working, we have to outsource CT scans to radiology, West or Montego Bay Hospital and so forth, which then means that the government is going to have to pay these private entities for each of these CT scans. Now, CT scans are not cheap. $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, right, for one. Imagine 100 of these being done. Now, if the time and the resources were allocated properly in maintaining, right, our CT scanner, then the government would not have to spend this money to pay private institutions. Most of the things, or a lot of the things that we use are actually supposed to be one-time use. But because we are a third world country and we're resource stricken, we actually have to sterilize and reuse the equipment. Now, when you reuse something that is supposed to be a one-time use, it's going to wear away, it's going to go. Now, when the orders are actually put in for new things, routinely, religiously, they do not come back from stores. So then we're forced to reuse until the life is out of the equipment or out of the tool, and it is broken and you cannot do any more surgeries. Then that's it. You have to cancel the patient's surgeries because you order and nothing comes from stores when you order it.
Another doctor at the hospital also pointed out non or late payments of their salary deductions.
Okay, one thing in particular that we have been experiencing, delays or sometimes non-payment of our salary deductions. Now, Western Region is saying that they don't have any money to pay the salary deductions, and most times their budget for each month has been exceeded. So what they do is they take the salary, the money from your pay, then they use that money to make up other person's pay. Now, that must be illegal, because how can I work for my money, sign a paper, a legal document to state that I'm giving you permission to take my money and put it in X place, but instead of putting the money in X place, you put the money in Y place. I didn't give you permission to put my money in Y place, so why are you putting my money in Y place? Furthermore, when you pay back my money now, my money, finally you're going to pay it back to my loan institution. Instead of paying 30, you're going to pay 1, sometimes none. People are up to this day getting permission from the region. They go to region every month, every day somebody goes up there and signs a paper stating that they are giving region permission, and region has taken responsibility to take out the money out of your pay and transfer it to the loan institution. Now that is a scam, because how can you know beforehand that you have no money, right? And likely you're going to use my money to pay other people because you have no money, but yet still you are entering in this agreement knowing fully well you have no intention whatsoever of meeting the agreement.
Following our talk with the doctors, Our news team reached out to the senior medical officer of the hospital, Dr. Derek Harvey, who empathized with the doctors and also explained why some of the challenges exist. Here is Colleen May with more of Dr. Harvey's response.
Senior Medical Officer Dr. Derek Harvey addressed concerns raised by some of the doctors at the Cornwall Regional Hospital earlier today. Dr. Harvey said that the matter of limited bed space at the hospital saw an increase following the closure of the hospital for repairs.
Bed space occupancy, as it relates to Cornwall Regional Hospital, that became more of an issue. 2016, Cornwall had air quality issues. So it's specifically for Cornwall, I'm not speaking about the other hospitals. Because of the air quality issues, we had to be relocated into, as you would be aware, accommodation at the back of the hospital. So we had limited space. So the issue with that, the numbers went down, and it was really a major issue. There has been a certain amount of improvement, but one is aware that due to the chronic medical issues which we have of hypertension, diabetes, that is where most of the problems are with the patients. The persons who have the chronic medical non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, that is where the demand comes in. So if you go down to the accident and emergency department, the majority of persons you see waiting there usually have a chronic underlying medical problem. And this is due many times to the person not being able to be compliant with their medication, or there may be some other social factors with intervene.
Dr. Harvey also pointed out that there has been an increase in demand for radiological testing, which has seen an overwhelming imaging being done.
I do take your point in terms of investigation. Where the lab used to be able to keep up with their blood investigation, there was an issue just over the last few weeks in terms of being able to process some of the samples. But there has been an increased demand for the radiological investigations which you mentioned, for example, like the CT scans and the X-rays. Again, specifically for Cornwall Regional Hospital, what I will say to you is that, we no longer have, we used to be upstairs where you had 4 machines, 4 rooms to process X-rays. We now basically have a standby facility, and we work in conjunction with the government where they have this enhanced program where persons might be able to get some assistance. One also takes into consideration in this day, and I'm comparing to when I started medicine. I would look at chest pain and I'd say, okay, take this medication and go. No longer do people do that. We have to say you need a chest X-ray or you made an ECG. So there's an increased demand for the number of investigations. As if sometimes when you look on the American system compared to the old Jamaican system, so most persons would have to have some form of an investigation before they're dismissed. In the old days, one would probably write a prescription. I do agree with you that there is an increased demand and therefore increased waiting. And there's also the fact that you may not get to investigations on time. So yes, that would cause an increase and definitely in terms of overcrowding. But I'd say for Cornwall, persons need to be a little bit understanding. It's not ideal at all. I agree with you. It's not ideal. But the demand outweighs the supply.
Dr. Harvey further said that he takes the point of his colleagues and asks for better understanding as they deal with resolving any issues affecting doctors and, by extension, patients.
I would love persons to come here and see sometimes what you do. I reflect on the fact that I started medicine years ago. I've had some experience outside of Jamaica. I've come back to Jamaica, and to realize that you are delivering a system without cost. I went to the States and to do an ECG could be anywhere between $60 and $100 and something US. And here, you don't pay for it. So you wonder where, and you are paying for it, when you pay your taxes. You pay your taxes, but you see, I'm not a government official in terms of how you do your budget, etc. But I think we need to be a little bit more cognizant of how funding comes about. And when you speak to the doctors, some of the younger ones, and you have that conversation with them, it is not as easy because if they were running their own business, they would have to see how they're going to finance it. But I think we're coming to a point more and more where, and I would suspect the same about when you borrow loans from international bodies, etc. How much does it cost? How do you fund? And I think all of us have to be on board. But I take the point of my younger colleagues who sometimes get frustrated. I agree with you. But in a government system which caters to the public, and I'll give an example. A person will come here with breast cancer because I'm still a medical officer sitting in this position. You sign off for that person $4 million to get their course of medication. These young ones don't know that, when you have your compassionate fund. So these are some things it's because I'm in this position that I've been exposed to some of these things. But I do agree with you. It could be better. But how can we make it when you have limited resources? Do you charge persons? And if you charge, you better have better service.
Reporting for Mello TV News, I'm Kayleen May.
Still tonight, 2 persons are now dead and 2 others admitted to hospital following yesterday's shooting in Longwood, Hanover. Here is Javon Thomas with more on this story.
A teenager is among 2 persons shot and killed during an early morning attack in Longwood, Hanover yesterday. Dead are 16-year-old Rodre Martinez of Orange Bay Community and 39-year-old Kevon Roosevelt, also known as Ranko of Dam Road, both in Green Island, Hanover. 2 other persons who were also shot during the incident remains at hospital in serious but stable condition. Reports are that about 11 a.m., armed men entered the community and opened fire, hitting all 4 victims. Commanding officer of the Hanover Police Division, Sharon Beeput, had this report on the incident.
At about 11 a.m., police were alerted to a shooting incident in Longwood Hanover. On arrival, the body of a bar operator was found inside the bar. We received information that other persons were injured and were being transported to Noel Holmes Hospital. A 16-year-old was confirmed dead by the doctor on duty. 2 other persons were seen suffering from gunshot wounds and are being treated. They are not life-threatening. No motive has yet been ascertained. There is tension in the community. However, joint military police patrol will be on the ground. Dead are Kevon Roosevelt of Dam Road, Longwood, Hanover, who is the bar operator, and Rodre Martinez, a 16-year-old student of Orange Bay, Hanover.
Mother of Roosevelt explained that she learned of her son's death on her way to see him at his business place.
I talked to him this morning after 9. Me there work and I talk to him on the phone. And I tell him, say after me take me lunchtime, me go and check him. And he say he out by the shop. So after me take me lunchtime now and come out the road, they look drive one taxi man stop and tell me say he dead. So I just come to see.
What kind of person was
Nice guy.
joke.
Running
Make
that a joke,
friends.
keep party and introduce himself nice to people. No wrong cause no bad man and no wrongdoer. Stay and shop and cook. Just lose him so.
Meanwhile, another family member, Pansy Smith, described Roosevelt as a family man who is hard-working.
Ranko, I know Ranko from him a little baby boy. He born and grow here in Longwood. His father is from Dam Road. We call him Lindsay. We get along so well. Anywhere I am, Ranko see me. He no pass me. He always stop. Auntie, where you going? He said, "Me going home." He said, "Come." He always carry me home anywhere me there, and he let me want to go home. Anything he have, he say, "Auntie, come, hold it. Take this." And he's gone. We don't know, he must know bad behaving guy.
So you happened to spoke with him this morning?
No,
So when was the last time you saw him?
I saw him about a week ago.
This latest shooting occurred just days after 6 other men were shot in the Mount Pleasant community in Lucia, Hanover, 2 of whom were pronounced dead. I'm Javon Thomas reporting for Mello TV News.
And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with other stories as one of Hanover's most wanted gunmen was captured by the police yesterday. And detectives assigned to the St. James Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse, Sisoka, charged a pastor from the parish with rape yesterday. But first, we'll go to a break and then join Christopher Scott with the latest in sports.